Hopefully everyone can hear, it seems as though. We're very excited today to talk to you about some of our thoughts. We had some great prep discussions, and I think all of the gentlemen on our panel have some very interesting case studies and perspectives to add some context to how mobile can improve the retail experience. So with that, I'll do some brief introductions, and I will pass it on to them to give you a little more information about their background and their overall thoughts on mobile in the retail space. So we have Richard Ventura joining us from NEC Display Solutions. We've got Kyle Dant from Vantiv and Michael Moser from Javelin. So I will kick it over if you want to get us started.
Sure. So thank you. I'm Rich Ventura. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for NEC Display Solutions. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. You might ask why a display person would want to come and attend a mobile payments conference. We focus actually in your world in a different roundabout way, because we actually take your technologies and solutions and questions and ideas, and how do we incorporate that into visual experiences, engagements, interactions in retail environments, and help our customers deliver true solutions and true engagement with their consumers. So we have lots of companies that we work with in software and hardware that take the data that comes from mobile devices, both from purchasing as well as this data delivery, and deliver that onto our screens. And we also own an analytics division. So we do big data analytics as well as standard analytics. So we take a lot of that data to help our customers understand the impact to their bottom line.
Great. My name is Kyle Dant. I'm a enterprise merchant product manager for Vantiv. For those that don't know Vantiv, we do payment processing and offer payment and technology solutions for our merchants and FI financial institutions. So I think we play a really unique position in the ecosystem where we're brand agnostic. So essentially we become the voice of our merchants. So we work very closely with our merchants to understand their customers and what they think they want their customer experience to be. So I think, for the last 2 days, we've seen a lot of discussions from omni-channel to loyalty to security, and these are, very large topics for our, big box retailers. So it becomes, very exciting, and we at Vantiv have become, the thought leaders of, understanding the technology and bridging that gap between their needs and technology. So it becomes very excited and a great opportunity, but it also becomes very confusing and complex for our merchants. So, as we're working through the process, payments in itself becomes extremely important, because as you think of a payment for a retailer, that's the last real customer interaction. So it makes a good experience great, or it presents, a negative experience and then, a long-lasting effect for that merchant.
Fantastic.
I'm Michael Moser. I'm with Javelin. I'm the Director of Payments, and I'm the guy in the checkout lane taking pictures of the POS terminal. I'm the guy with a stopwatch, or his daughter's doing the stopwatch while the transaction's going, doing the screenshots while I'm buying things using a mobile app. I love payments. I work for Javelin. I study payments. I work with clients. We have many clients here. We serve financial services. We serve the government and retailers. And so when I was listening yesterday to the various sessions, one really struck me. Well, many of them struck me in a positive way. But I was listening to Jack Connor at Google. He said you need 3 things for adoption of new technology. And he had a really cool graphic up there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a picture of it, but I did talk to another gentleman that did, so I'll get that. But he said basically you need 3 things. You need availability, that is, I can be able to use that new technology in different places. There's got to be merchant value. The merchant really has to say, I want this new payment capability, this new technology. And there's got to be consumer value. Me as a consumer, I have to sort of understand, why do I need this? And sometimes the technology can be a little confusing, or the value may not be as clear. Some say that with EMV. But the question here about the panel here, are the point of what we're going to talk about, can mobile payments create an improved retail experience? The answer is yes, and I put together a few thoughts on why. I think retailers get it and they're responding. And that's sort of the availability piece and the merchant value. And I use something as simple as Papa John's as a reference point, because at some point we've all eaten pizza, and some of us still continue to eat pizza after college. But Papa John's used to be the kind of place where you would phone in an order. And the challenge of phoning in an order is pepperoni, cheese, mushrooms. Okay, is that 3 pizzas or 1? And so you have mixed-up orders. Where's the address? You don't quite know. And what Papa John's learned is the number 4 player, and so if they're not even Avis, they've got to try even harder, is that they thought that, what about this online experience, which then morphed into mobile? And today, Papa John's does 60% of its orders through digital commerce. 55% of the digital commerce is through their mobile app. And if you've never used Papa John's to buy pizza, I would recommend go to the website, or download the mobile app and play with it. It's fun. In fact, I was at a client last week with one of my colleagues, and the story about Papa John's came up as we were having lunch. And one of the vice presidents, she told me that she loves the app and she loves the website. And I said, I've never heard of anybody really loving pizza that much. And she said, no, it's great because we have pizza night, Thursday night, and my 6-year-old daughter loves to go on the website and she can make the pizza. So they have this thing called a pizza creator, and you can pick pepperoni and the pepperoni flutters down, and mushrooms and it flutters down. You can make the pizza, so it's very visually engaging. They've got Papa Points, so it's that reward system that engages you. And then finally, when you make the payment to buy it, whether you're picking it up in store or it's being delivered, there's Pay Share with Venmo, which was a capability that they launched back in 2015. And if you think about it, if you're buying a lot of pizza, you're typically not eating alone. And if you're with a bunch of roommates or friends, how do you collect $10? Rich, you owe me $10. Kyle, you owe me $10. Jessica, etc. No, built within the app is the capability to split that payment through Venmo. So it really creates that engagement of, wow, this is pretty easy. I no longer have to bother Rich for the $10 he owes me from the last time. And so it's very easy to do that. But today, this morning when I was down at Kinko's making copies for a client presentation, I got a notice from Starbucks. It's double points day. And so I'm a big Starbucks mobile app user, but they engage with me through things like big data. I drink a lot of coffee, but I don't buy the food, so I get the rewards for the food. And so retailers get it. I think consumers are engaging. That's the second point. We do an annual survey of about 3,000 consumers, and in 2010 we started asking the question, would you allow a retailer to geolocate you for the purposes of giving you coupons, rewards, offers, etc.? And general pop, not millennials, I got to say that right up front, 10% of people raised their hand, and that actually became the graphic. And so 10% of consumers in 2010 said they would allow a retailer to track them if they would be able to receive offers. And by 2015, that's gone up to 42%. When we do the survey next month, I would imagine be over half. And so there's the consumer value. I think people, as a third point, people are changing how they pay at retail. As we look at payments, back in 2013, about 27% of payments made at point of sale were cash and check, so paper. We see that going down to about 22% in 2020. When we look at mobile proximity, almost 10 billion last year. That'll rise 9-fold to over 90, about 92 billion in 2020. So people are getting, they're getting the message. They're changing how they pay. I think commerce in general is changing. We heard a lot yesterday about omni-channel, blurring the line. When you think about omni-channel, I buy tickets on Fandango. I order an Uber app. Is it a mobile transaction? Clearly, I'm riding in an Uber. I'm going to the movie theater to watch the Fandango. Jessica and I were talking earlier. If you want to buy something online and pick up in store, Macy's has a counter, a really big counter, right across the street, a little 500 yards down the street. So the question, if you're in Macy's and I'm the online sales guy, do I get credit or does the store get credit? And so as this continues to change, it definitely evolves. And I think the last thing I'd want to say about one of the key trends here is that I think EMV is a blessing in disguise for mobile. And I think as retailers, we heard, numbers, MasterCard's numbers, 30% EMV in big stores. When you compare the user experience of an EMV transaction, and then when you look at a transaction whether you're using an Apple Pay or you go to Walmart and you scan the QR code, you get the receipt on your, you see the transaction. The Walmart receipt actually has a barcode. You didn't like what you bought? You don't have to fumble. I don't have to keep any receipts. I think about Seinfeld, George Costanza. We all remember that massive wallet that exploded. You don't have to do that anymore. And I think mobile is changing that experience and how we interact with stores, and the stores are seeing that value. No longer you've used that QR code. They don't have to ask Michael Moser, do you have the receipt? Well, of course you do. It's in the Walmart Pay, and it's in the Walmart app, and there it is, and there's the coupon. And, when we think about the blurring of the lines of this buy online, pick up in store, I think the retailers get it because they're responding. They're seeing whether, Harry's, Dollar Shave Club, the razors that come in the mail, and now you see CVS, they've got their app, and you've got the coupons, the cards in the app, and we're seeing now in a few states CVS is pushing their CVS Pay. I think the retailers are challenging the mobile only or online only. So I think it's definitely, mobile will drive retail.
And I think, Michael, you bring up a very interesting point that would be remiss of me not to ask the other panelists, and that is, seeing where we're at on the road of adoption of EMV and where we thought we would be by now. I think, I would be interested to hear your thoughts as well. I mean, what impact do you think EMV is having on the mobile experience? And I know, Kyle, you and I were speaking yesterday about petroleum specifically, so I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts on EMV.
Yeah, sure. So obviously and I think when we're seeing with our merchants, the introduction of EMV was also introduction of a new terminal, right, that contained the contact list. So it was kind of a double-edged sword, as we've seen. And Michael brought up a good point, is, as they're dipping and it's taking time, and, the kids are running around and it's getting crazy. Merchants are now looking at, hey, if I'm going to certify, say, with a Vantiv, and that's a long, drawn-out process, I'm going to do EMV and contactless at the same time. So then I can leverage that tap. You got the kids, you're running out, you got the receipt, you have everything that you need. So from a petroleum standpoint, what we're seeing is, EMV is more in petroleum space more than just a new terminal. So if you think about the AFD paying at the pump, it's an introduction to new software, new hardware, and potentially a shift of some of these merchants to dig up and break concrete to add this new technology. So it's a huge shift. It's a huge concern for the petroleum merchants because of the time and energy of getting just the devices and software incorporated, and that's over and above just getting the adoption rate of people actually using it.
And Richard, what are you seeing from your perspective?
We're seeing companies actually looking at integrating them into kiosks. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing a lot of organizations, as they're designing the kiosks, it used to be, we're going to design a kiosk, let's put a screen in there and let's see what happens. Now they're saying, let's future-proof these kiosks. We know there's more technology coming out, integrations, everything from RFID, NFC, EMV, all these different ways to interact with it. So they're looking more to the future. So instead of just designing the kiosk for today, they're saying what's going to be 2, 3, 4 years from now. So they don't have to deal with what the petroleum companies have to deal with, having to tear everything out.
Fantastic. And I know we've talked a lot about mobile adoption, throughout the course of this conference, and we've talked about it a little bit here. When we look at the major buckets of providers for mobile payments in general, who, from each of your perspectives, do you feel like has the best position to drive that adoption? Looking at, retailers with their brand affinity, white label solutions, you see third-party providers, and you see the carriers, right? I think initially we probably never thought that the phone carriers would have had such a prominent place in mobile payments when this started.
I think the phone carriers, starting out with their collective ISIS, I think with that name, I think that was sort of a step in the wrong direction. But I think, it's not going to be a single player. We talk about ride sharing, everybody thinks of Uber. I think what you're going to see is you'll have some people who will want to download the Walmart app. And if you're a payments geek like me, you probably have 50 apps and you use Walmart Pay, you want to use CVS Pay, Papa John's, etc. The reality is people won't do that. You'll have a few that are, Apple Pay was one of the first out of the gate. Google would probably challenge that, but you'll have a few that will be resident within the phone. The Samsung Pays, the Android Pays, etc. You'll have a few retailer apps. If you shop a lot at Walmart or it's another retailer, you'll have probably that app. So I think it will probably be a fractured market. You'll have a few big guys, maybe with 20% share, but unless you are a super rewards junkie or something like this, or you clearly spend 80% of your money at Walmart, I think it would be a mixed bag with a few big players.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree. I think it's, especially from the retailers, as they know their customers and experience, obviously, if they can create something specific that's more about them, great. But I think at the end of the day, hopefully, it'll become a kind of a best of breed, or, strong companies working with a strong loyalty company or a strong gift card of, creating a consolidated, seamless, frictionless, payment option.
Yeah, at NRF this last year, it was kind of interesting. We actually showcased a small startup company out of Toronto called Soundpace. And what they've done is they are eliminating what we're kind of dealing with, what we're talking about right here, is they've made an agnostic tool. And what it does is the advertisement has an audible ping built into the ad. So if I'm running a digital sign ad and I have an ad for jeans, instead of saying click on this QR code or tap on here or do this, it actually says launch Soundpace. And what Soundpace does is it picks up the inaudible ping that none of us can hear. So if you're familiar with Shazam, same kind of idea. And actually some of these guys are former Shazam guys. And what they do is it's now a virtual wallet on your phone. The credit card does not reside on your phone, it resides in the cloud. But the application allows for that transaction. I now can make an immediate transaction. It's showcased on my phone, my wallet. I know all my transactions. I already have it preset to ship to me and all of that. Creates a totally different environment. And when I asked the founder, I said, why did you create this? And he goes, simple. I have an Apple phone. I went and I left my wallet in my room. I went to go buy something. I couldn't use my Apple Pay because they didn't offer it. They offered Samsung Pay. And he's like, I need to be able to make a purchase no matter where I am in the world. If I have my phone, that needs to be my tool. And it just happens to be, it can tie into digital signage, which is why we expressed our interest in them. We're looking at companies like that. So we're seeing a lot of these companies that are saying, what if, instead of the Samsungs, the Googles, the Amazons, and everyone else in the world saying, this is what you're going to do. And what was funny was, we actually met with 4 or 5 pretty large brands with them who are clients of ours, and all of them said, we'd love to take that technology and put it into our app. So now they're looking at a lot of companies where they can embed something like that into their application.
No, and I think you make a good point, not to pick on ISIS and their unfortunate naming, but we've come a long way from the inception of the mobile wallet. So from your perspective, where we're at today, I mean, what is this modern mobile wallet that we're using? What's it look like today? And then how do you think that's going to evolve going forward?
Well, I think the modern wallet today, it's pretty fractured because you've got a lot of things, a lot of people trying. You see a lot of adoption, spotty usage in some cases. I tried it, didn't like it. I think what you're going to see going forward is there's a lot more collaboration. And so I fly United a lot. I've got the United app. A few months ago, Bing, Uber showed up. And you're seeing this, yes, I'm at the airport. Do I take a taxi? No, I see now Uber. I'm a big Uber fan. And there's collaboration. You see now Visa and Uber joining forces to drive local offers. And I think what you're seeing is more collaboration. And I think we talked earlier about sort of the community. If you can bring a community of people, whether they're Visa card holders, Uber riders, or Venmo users, and you've got more and more of a capability if you can bring that audience. And people like Venmo, I want to be able to not just send money to other people, but pay in-app. And they did a beta for a while. It's gone live, and now if I want to buy tickets on Game Time, I can use Venmo. And so I think you're going to see going forward a lot more collaboration. It's not going to be I'm the sole provider, the IBM of the 60s and 70s, but now it's more of a collective. I have an ecosystem. Can I join your ecosystem? And it's that collaboration. We don't compete, we do compete, but it's that collaborative effort.
Yeah, I think today there's a lot of confusion, a lot of moving parts, lack of real communication. So just talking to some friends that are very tech savvy, and we were talking about the various wallets and pays, and he's like, I don't use it, and it's, well, why don't you use it? And he's like, I don't trust the security. And it's like, and then so yesterday, a gentleman was like, well, what do you trust more, your phone or your card? And I use that exact, and he was like, my phone. So I'm like, okay, so it's just lack of education and knowledge and understanding about the security and how it fits within the wallet and how it fits within the retailer. So, hopefully in 5 years, the communication and the true understanding is projected and accepted. And then, secondarily, as you were mentioning, is just the various collaborations, right? So at the end of the day, the ideal experience is, you have your metadata, you have your information within your phone. As you walk into a particular restaurant, it knows, here's your favorite foods, your favorite drinks, things are in place for you. You don't have to take out your wallet, you don't have to take out your calculator to figure out how much you need to tip. You don't have to, swap cash with your friend, to figure out who's paying for what. If you drink too much, the app would let you know, hey, here's an Uber person for you. So it's just this interaction of, as you're ordering and as you're interacting with not only your friends, the merchant, and your phone, everything is kind of embedded. So there's really no need to take anything out. And it's just, walk in, enjoy your meal, and then walk out and have a positive experience.
Have you seen the app All Set? There's a few companies like All Set, and All Set, if you think of Open Table, what that's done for reservations, All Set, you can book a table at whatever time, pick the restaurant, book the table, and then you can look at the menu, you can order, you can pay for it with the tip, and so it's to your point, you're walking in without a wallet or even and you've paid for everything. And here it is, here's your food, comes within minutes, it's not waiting 30 minutes, the waiter or waitress has to take my order, but we're seeing a lot of this happen. Now granted, this is only in, I think, New York, San Francisco, Palo Alto, and a few other cities, but there's like 4 or 5 competitors to All Set that are doing this.
What's hilarious is we're actually dealing with a lot of fast casual and QSR customers who are actually doing the same idea. They don't want, they're trying to reduce that amount of time that you're waiting in line and queue. So everything from, we see people testing self-ordering kiosks. That's been the big thing, the big buzz that everyone talks about, self-ordering kiosks. We see McDonald's with Create Your Taste. A lot of people don't realize 7 years ago, we had, El Pollo Loco tried it, Jack in the Box tried it, Taco Bell tried it, KFC tried it. I mean, it's been constantly out there. And now everyone's realizing, we always tell everybody, this is your self-ordering kiosk, this is your digital sign, this is your wallet, everything's right here for you to do a lot of that. And some brands are starting to see that, and we actually have brands that we're talking with that are saying, we want to have, they can order on their app, they come into the store, we know they're in the store from proximity, from beacons or whatever it is, all of a sudden on the digital sign it pops up, hey, you need to go over here, your order's ready to go. In the back, it's also communicated to them, say, so-and-so has come to the restaurant, they're ready for their order. We're seeing a lot of that starting to happen, more and more. And like you said, collaboration between applications. I mean, who here travels over 100,000 miles a year? Flies. I do almost 200,000 a year. So I look at I limit the apps because I could have 5 iPhones and still not have enough apps to cover how much I do. The fact that they have collaboration, I fly Delta, they tie in with Starwood, they have Uber, Avis, Avis is on there. They have all these guys that are doing that more and more, and we're seeing that collaboration crossing into the retail format where we have brands that are doing more and more collaboration, and they're brands that have nothing to do with each other's business, but they can build equity together, and they're doing that with digital signage systems and communicating to the customer.
And I think you guys are leading into a really good point, and that is, as we talk about the retail experience and improving that for consumers, there are a lot of trends going on out there. And how do you see some of those from, outdoor express services, being able to allow, SMBs and other retailers to compete with Amazon, and then also augmented reality? I mean, how are those things kind of driving and improving that consumer experience?
Well, I can talk from the augmented reality place because that's an area we play quite a bit dealing with. Part of my role is we manage and work with a lot of disruptive technology organizations. So we work a lot with Google, we work a lot with Intel, we work a lot with a lot of other companies that have some amazing augmented reality applications, Microsoft to name another. We're seeing how this technology is creating a totally different user experience for retailers and for customers going in. Instead of today walking into a Home Depot and you see on the counter, you see all the different paint, and then you gotta go over here and pick wood, and you go over here. Instead, I can take that application, I can have whatever I'm gonna paint, whatever I'm gonna change. I start pulling things into there. I can build out exactly what I'm going to do. I walk into that store, and they know exactly what I need. And I know what I need because I can see exactly how it looks, and I can see how it feels. We're seeing a lot of that, and it's funny coming from a display vendor because everybody keeps saying, well, you know, you guys are a display. You're this big monster. Why do you want people to walk in with tablets and iPhones and interact? Mm-hmm. Because there's actually interaction that happens here. Because I can then walk in with my tablet device or my phone and maybe tap on NFC or do something automatically. What I've just done is I'm popping up onto that screen, and while it's doing that, I'm also, as a Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, I can actually go, you know what, I see that you're picking all these items. Have you thought about this stuff over here that might be maybe something new to add into the equation, a new type of sync? Things you didn't think about that maybe you didn't know we had. So it's allows for this new upsell, this new relationship building. We work a lot with Microsoft and their future design team, and some of the stuff they're doing with Oculus Rift and Cortana and Microsoft's products and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing because it is creating, I hate to say it, but it's almost creating an environment where we don't need to leave our homes. And I really hate to say that because it does though. We can actually do most of our stuff from our homes, and then God bless Amazon who can deliver in an hour, or we can go into the retailer and go pick it up right away. And I look at, I stepped into a Best Buy a couple days ago. It's the first time I've been at Best Buy in I think a year and a half. And I was amazed at how much it changed. When you looked at Best Buy 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was endless aisles, tons and tons of product. Look at it now. It's not endless aisles, tons and tons of products. They're experience centers. Samsung's got an area. Microsoft's got an area. Apple's got an area. They're experience centers because they know people want to come in and actually experience the product. You notice that there's not rafters and rafters of inventory everywhere. The spaces are a lot more open now. That is what I think mobile has really created, and more of the online buying from Amazon and all those guys. The big box guys realize they have to bring them in for the experience, and then they'll be able to sell the product.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think the challenge that, you know, if you're a big box retailer or even a small player, is showrooming, and probably one of the first people to really drive the buy online, pick up in store was Circuit City, which ultimately got killed by Amazon. And so the showrooming aspect is very difficult, and I think Richard raises a great point. It's about experience. How do you engage with the brands? How do you engage with the retailer? But the challenge is if I can get something from Amazon within an hour, I don't have to go to Costco. Google Express goes to Costco. They go to the Costco right by me, which I live right by Google. It's a challenge because I'm competing with all the Google Express people. And Google Express guy says, why don't you just order it online? Why are you coming to the store? And so it becomes the reality of, you know, I don't need to see the 48 eggs that they sell at Costco. The reality is that these delivery services can really drive that. And I think that's going to be a challenge for smaller retailers, because if the big guys are doing these experience centers, what does a small guy have to do? And where you're going to be able to really use these types of services, that is a challenge.
Well, look at now we have Uber Eats.
Yes.
And we have Amazon Locker.
Yep.
And I mean, I needed something shipped to me. I needed something to buy, and I was in Las Vegas. And fries, I knew I didn't carry it, but I ordered on Amazon. It was sitting at an Amazon Locker outside my hotel room the next day.
Well, I was at Kinko's, and eBay has eBay Valet at Kinko's. So if I want to sell something, you know, I don't have to go anywhere. You know, it's so easy. It's sort of that last mile. You know, I can pick something up. I want to be able to send it. It's gotten so much easier, and that is a challenge.
Yeah, and I, you know, from a merchant standpoint, I was, you know, anything that makes the customer experience easy.
Yes.
and seamless in this, almost, on demand, I can get whatever I need. So, I mean, you're right, the small retailers are going to struggle with that, impulse buy. So when, if you go to the grocery store and you're hungry, right, you might go in looking for 5 items, but you walk out with 25 items. So, that's extremely helpful, right, for the small retailers. But yeah, if I can order something online, pay a couple bucks and spend more time with my family doing what I need, walk outside and there it is in a controlled environment, so my ice cream's not melting, and yeah, absolutely. So where do I sign up?
Richard, when we were talking earlier in our prep session, we were talking about augmented reality, and I think we've all seen things like Zillow Digs, where you can take a picture of a house, the inside, and change the interior, or if you go onto a clothing app like Stitch Fix, and you can sort of see what does it look like on a model like me. But Richard, you talked about some really cool things about jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
Jewelry. And virtual fitting rooms, yes.
So we work with a couple different companies that utilize some interesting technologies. And what they do is they're virtual fitting rooms, virtual jewelers. So I'll use the example of the jeweler first. This jewelry company that deployed this is in Beverly Hills. The average jewelry item, I think, in their showcase is about $7,000 or $8,000 is like the kind of the low end, up to $750,000, $1 million. So this is a pretty high-end jewelry store. Their biggest problem was they're in Beverly Hills. Their shop is not very big. That's the first problem they have. The second is they don't want to be constantly pulling jewelry out of the vault. So what they did is they virtualized every single piece of jewelry. And they've actually worked with Intel on this. And what happens is the person can walk up and there's this large LCD display. It looks like a mirror. It's all decked out, Art Deco and everything. But they can start picking what jewelry they want, and all of a sudden you see the jewelry fly in, and it shows on their neck, or on their hand, or on their ears, or a tiara on their head. And it's all virtual. And it's not a cheap solution to do, but I looked at why they needed to do that. They have a big problem. They have to go down, they got to bring up jewelry, they go back and forth. Where's that jewelry at all times? There's all this managing of everything. And then they might get a person, I mean, my wife does this a lot of, I want to see 50 different versions of that necklace. I want to see how long it can get. So you can actually do that. You can actually go like this and it will stretch out the necklace. You can see, well, I need a longer chain. Or I really like this chain, but I want a different pendant. All of a sudden you can start doing those things and it changes virtually in front of you. In the clothing industry, we have, we call them the magic mirrors. And actually, I'm trying to remember if they have it here in Chicago, but the Macy's in New York does. And you have the ability of walking in front of it and you can pick different outfits. And what's great is if you are logged in a loyalty program, they actually know, no, you've already bought 15 black suits. You don't need another black suit. Or you do have these 15 black suits. Here is some color and different ties that will look very well with it. Then what's great is you have the fitting room part. So you can go back into the fitting room, and what everyone tried originally, I thought it was a great idea, but I thought about it a little bit later, yeah, it's not a great idea. First idea was, let's put a display with a camera in the fitting room.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because we want our friends on social media to see how this outfit looks on me. Okay, great idea. Think about what could happen immediately. Let's hack all the fitting rooms. Yeah. So they go, okay, we can't do that. They said, okay, well, how about if we have a social media tie and we say, you can get a bunch of your friends into a virtual fitting room and you say, and I'm trying this on and this on, but how do you get the picture of it on there? How do people see what it is? So we kind of went through a bunch of ideas. And what we've come out of this was this whole idea tying in with RFID. So I grab a shirt, has an RFID tag on it. I go in the fitting room, I put it up onto the wall hanger. Automatically there's a sensor in there, picks up that this shirt is in the room. Automatically pops up on the screen. Here's the shirt. Here's all the different color options for that shirt. Here are some ties or slacks that look well with that. Or for the ladies, here's a dress that looks well with those shoes, or a pair of shoes that go well with that dress, whatever it is, and it gives you that information. I can now build out a virtual shopping list. But what's great is I can go, you know what, this shirt doesn't fit or I need a different color. Instead of walking out and telling somebody, I touch the screen, automatically pops up onto the tablet of the associate that, hey, fitting room 4 needs a blue shirt, a red shirt, a green shirt, and these sizes, boom, done. And by the way, we don't have this, let them know we can ship it to them directly at their home if they want to buy it. It's taking all of these different ideas and technologies and working together. So you talk about omnichannel. Omnichannel is a big term that we deal with a lot. It's the social, it's the mobile, it's the website, it's the virtual, it's the digital signage in the building. Everything has to be showcasing and communicating the same way. If you have one hiccup in there, be it payment, processing, inventory, whatever, it's not creating a smooth opportunity for the customer. We did mention on the experience, one thing I'll throw in there, has anybody been to a Cabela's before? I know there's a lot of hunters probably in this room. Cabela's is one of our favorite clients. If you go to the Cabela's stores, they are an experience. So is Bass Pro, and we love Bass Pro too, they're a client of ours. Cabela's experience is a little different. You feel like you're actually surrounded by, hunting and fishing and all this other stuff. But when you walk into a Cabela's, and if you walk into some of the larger Cabela's, pay attention to the technology that's being used. You won't even know there's over 60 LCD displays in a Cabela's because it's blended in their environment, but every one of them is meaningful, and they do impact and they engage with their mobile and with their social and with their website.
And I know we're running up on time here, and we've kind of dominated. Do we have time to take a couple of questions? Okay. Any questions from the audience for this? Yes.
Yeah, you talk a lot about, issues with small retailers, things like that. What about, I have a daughter who works at Disney World. What about the experiential selling like there or at Mall of America? That kind of, how do you see, these places that are selling an experience, not just merchandise? How are they going to be impacted?
I can talk about what we do with a lot of those guys because
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, I've lived in Minnesota for 22 years, so I'm very familiar with the Mall of America folks. They have a very unique opportunity. I always hate using the term challenge. They have a very unique opportunity. They are a destination. People go on vacation, they bring an empty suitcase to Minnesota because you don't get charged taxes for clothing, and you got the largest mall in the U.S., which is going to double in size in the next few years. It is an experience. And I always watch, when I go to Minnesota, I always watch people when they're going through the Mall of America, and you can tell the locals versus the people out of town. They have this opportunity of how do they drive everybody into every single one of those stores and create buzz and excitement. Disney has the same problem. Disney's got these huge places, and everyone's walking around, and you got to wait in these lines sometimes for 3 hours, or you can go through something quicker. Disney did one of the best things I ever saw in the world, the wristband.
Yeah.
That is probably the best thing. You can do everything. You can check into your room, you can buy something, you can check into a fast pass. Everything is on that wristband. Mall of America is looking at the same ideas, apps, applications. So you take destinations, you got to create something different by you. Disney went with the wristband. Do you create an app that works on, who all has smartwatches? I've had the Apple Watch since it came out. Everyone laughed at me when I got it. They go, why do you need it? I go, you don't realize. I'm on my phone, I can do this stuff. I can check into my plane, I can pay for a ticket. I don't need to pull my phone out anymore. I can do a lot of it here. That's where places like the Mall of America, Disney, SeaWorld, all those guys, they're looking at those types of things. And like I said, Disney hit a home run. Your whole history, and you keep that wristband.
Yep.
Every time you can just keep refilling it over and over again. Mm-hmm. That's what places like those have to look at least from what we see.
I would add to that. I would say it's really around, there's two things, and I think what Richard talked about, he talked about the consumer engagement, and then the other piece is friction. So the more you can take friction out of that buying experience, the engagement, and whether it's looking at mirrors and collecting clothes or the jewelry aspect, or it simply is, I want to make this transaction and using an EMV card is friction. So if you take the friction out and you create that consumer engagement, and whether it's a wristband or through a mobile app, that really drives me to want to do more stuff because no longer am I, challenged with that.
Mm-hmm. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I know we've already run over. We thank you for your time, and I thank you, gentlemen, for preparing for this and the great dialogue and discussion.
Thank you, Jessica.